Welcome to Business Amplified with host Kevin A. Dunlap.
This podcast is for small business owners aiming to amplify their enterprises.
Explore strategies to play a bigger game by becoming an author, public speaker, podcast host, or expanding your brand in other ways.
Elevate your business on Business Amplified.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Kevin Dunlap with Business Amplified, and we have another amazing guest joining us today. He's the founder and CEO of Segwik. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. His name is Pete Romano. And so, Pete, welcome to the show.
Hey, Kevin, it's great to be here with you and your audience. Thank you for having me on.
I love having you on. I love all the great energy and all the information all of my guests are bringing on, and I feel that we're going to have a phenomenal show. So, Pete, tell us who you are, what is it that you do, and why do you do it?
Hey, I'm a business founder here in the United States. I know you like to interview a lot of international guests, and here in the US, we have this habit of self-identifying as our business. And so I suppose I'll lead with that in that I'm the founder of a software and services company that its mission is to empower the small businesses of the world with the knowledge and information that they need to grow and scale. And the way that we do that is providing them with top quality technology that subtracts hours and hours from their week by minimizing the routine tasks and automating their customer journeys.
Now, is this done through like virtual assistants, or is this done with AI, or maybe a combination of both?
Well, we have a business tool. We call it that's the name of the tool. It's called Segwik. And our logo, if you will, or we have a mascot. The mascot is like a robot, and the robot is holding up effortlessly on his two hands. You could see he's holding up emails, he's holding up projects, he's holding up phone calls, and he's holding them up, and they're floating effortlessly above his head. And what that denotes to the viewer is that Segwik is supporting all of those activities through its own software. And so when you come to us, we figure out how do we take every customer touch point and remove them from your task load, from the staff's task load and the manager's task load, and we put those onto the automations. So it's not through virtual assistants, it's through automation and the software helping to move customers along frictionlessly.
Okay, so it makes the small business owners life a lot easier by taking away off a lot of tasks off their plate.
I'll give you an example. So, for example, we've had have contractors on our platform. One of the favorite features that they report back to us is saying, "Hey, Pete, thank you so much. It used to take me an hour and a half to make a quote and get it to a customer. Now I can make the quote in 5 minutes before I walk out the door of a customer." And so they're closing deals on the spot, whereas they would have had to come back. They would have had to come back to the office, spend an hour and a half making a quote, writing it up, downloading it, saving it, emailing it, chasing the client down. And you walk out the door, you have the chance of losing them. But with our software, that one small moment is not only reduced that hour and a half, but it reduced all of that busy sales work of following up and chasing your prospects.
I like that you're doing something like that, because back when I was in real estate, when I lived in Las Vegas, there was a saying that I came up with probably 15 years ago. And it was like a strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what I did was, and I was probably about the only person that did this. And this is back when before people were doing like e-signatures on contracts and such. They were still signing ink pen to paper. Is like I would go out and show somebody some homes. This is even before I became a realtor, so this is even before 2012. This is how ingenious how I ran my business then. Is I had a computer bag, and the computer bag was an oversized computer. You could put two computers in that bag. And essentially what I would do was I put my laptop in that bag, and I put in my Canon portable printer in that bag. And and at that time, using your phone as the internet was just still kind of new. We still had to go to maybe a coffee shop or McDonald's or something that had free internet. And this, I'm showing you some homes, and you say, I like the second one. I want to go in and sign a contract on this. So I would say, okay, let's go ahead and do it right now. So let me print the contract. When you type up the contract in the house, sometimes they had electricity, sometimes they didn't. I'll type up the contract in the house, and then I actually have it print in my portable printer and have them sign it right there. And they were also writing me the check or whatever it is for the option payment or the deposit, or whatever it is, the earnest money deposit, or whatever it was. But I was like, if I'm going to wait until going back to my office and doing this, I'm not. I could that's gap can make you lose business. So
Yeah,
I love the fact that you're doing something like that, where the contractor could be at the person's home. Hey, here, just a moment. Let me type up something real quick, or send it to your system, and they're creating all of it right there. And they're already in the buying temperament. So why not do it right then and there? And I love that's a great idea.
yeah, because think about it, you have the chance to there's no time to close like the present, right? And so think
Mhm.
about all of the benefits. You already have the rapport, you already have a captive audience, you already have the buying energy because you've already done your presentation, and you haven't really let them off the hook to go research other solutions, to compare your prices. And I'm not suggesting that it's the salesperson's job to strong arm this deal, but if a person's ready to go, uh, and having to say, "Oh, well, I'll come back to my office and I'll email you." Think about all the risks that infuses into your process. They can start to price shop. They can start to hear from their significant other why they shouldn't buy, and so there's nothing but upside and limited downside in having all of your paperwork digital on your phone, on your tablet, right there at the moment of meeting a client.
Mhm. But the thing is, by you providing that kind of a service, I mean, it's going to just cause the small business owner have I would say double if not triple their sales, just by taking away that one little aspect of things.
It's one of the favorite things that we're doing, and another favorite thing that and sometimes I have to remember that it's the simple things that matter as well, is that uh, for the contractors at least, they're doing a lot of in-home estimates. They're going to somebody's home, they're going to somebody's business, they're surveying, and these simple little touches, we get a lot of appreciation for. It's a simple automated text message before the service provider shows up. Maybe it's 1 hour before, maybe it's 2 hours before, but that little difference just really helps to set the stage, remind people, because contractors, your prospects have a habit of forgetting that you're even on their way. And so
Right.
so we help close that gap as well. And so in some ways, it's these little things that matter as well.
Well, and that is very, very important, because to me that because you talk about, like, say, as far as the email or text is concerned, we in the industry, coaching industry, whatever, we call those autoresponders. So these are reminders that go out to remind the prospect that, hey, Leon or Pete is going to be here at 2 o'clock, and they set it out at 1 o'clock to give you that estimate, give you that whatever. And to
Right.
me, that is by far one of the most important things, the little things that you can do. I mean, let's talk about this podcast. Did you get an email from me yesterday reminding you about this podcast with
I
a date
did.
and time?
Yeah, yeah. And then when we had to reschedule it, it was perfect. It sent me the reschedule and everything. And so you're a guy who has their systems down. And for your audience, I invite the audience to just send in your questions to Kevin for how he sets up his systems and processes, because I've seen you're well on your way to having your business be more frictionless as well.
Well, even like what Pete's getting at is, it doesn't matter what day of the year this is, but we had an appointment at, in my time zone, Eastern time zone, at 1:45, and I called him up like 45 minutes before this thing. Like, I was doing another podcast, like, hey, can we push it like 15 or 30 minutes? And when he agreed that we would push it to 2:15 Eastern, I just went on my phone to my calendar and I said, update my calendar, and then it asked me, do I send a message or don't send a message? Or I forget what the third one was, but it was just, yes, send him the message.
Which we
So I
live in
just,
the future.
so those are the little things that that matter a lot. Even back when I was in real estate, one of the things that I always asked myself when I was working with a client is how can I go that extra mile? What can I do to do that one little extra little touch point that I'm going the extra mile, that they may or may not even realize that I'm doing it, but that's the reason I'm doing it. I wanted to give them a five-star service event or a five-star service transaction. And by doing these little things for the contractors, say, hey, I'll do we'll do the estimate right here. Are you ready to go? Just sign this little notepad or this tablet.
Well, it's funny that you bring up the going the extra mile, and that's the best way to be thinking about how to service your clients. One of the things that I like to talk about is that there's a big difference between what we generally refer to as a customer versus what we generally refer to as a client. And it's to me, a client is a person where your relationship goes deeper, where your interaction goes deeper, where they have that they know the name of your kids and you know the name of theirs, or they have your personal cell phone number. And so that, to me, that's what a client is as opposed to a customer. But more to the point is you mentioned going the extra mile. And that's one of the things I like to talk about in terms of a high value touch point. We talk about those a lot in Segwik, is how do you provide high value touch points? And so to those business owners out there who are still working on your systems, or you're trying to figure out what it is that you can do to make your customer experiences special, I invite you to explore the concept, for everybody in the audience, to explore the concept of customer journeys. And so rather than having to think in the moment when something happens along the customer life cycle and then improvise, saying, well, what can I do now that's going to make me stand out? Instead of trying to improvise through that, instead, think about all of those moments ahead of time. So for
Yes.
all those listeners out there who are trying to grow their business and scale and deliver the best service that they can, take some time off from working in the business and instead work on the business. And while working on the business, consider what your customer journey looks like. And when you consider your customer journey, like you just said, your former real estate agent, realtor in the Las Vegas area. And so at some point along the customer journey, the deal is over. But that's not really where the customer journey ends. The customer journey continues, because if you just built your whole career off of a single transaction, then you're going to be chasing new leads forever. And
Right.
so in your case, how we coach our real estate clients is right upon this closing moment, that's the kickoff of a whole new part of the customer life cycle. And so what can we be doing right after a close? And you have these realtors that send a gift, or they take somebody out to dinner, and depending on the value of the transaction. And that's all well and good. But how do you determine that? Who gets a dinner and who gets a gift? Is it a certain value that gets a dinner versus a gift? Maybe you just rented somebody their first rental. Maybe that person only gets a $100 Starbucks card, but maybe the person who closes on a $1 million home, they're the ones who get a nice steak dinner. But besides that, you don't have to spend any money on nice email sequences, top of mind email sequences that can fire off at the moment of closing. And we've built for some agents a 5-year email sequence that they don't have to think about anything. And that's distinct from their monthly newsletter. This is, you close a deal and a sequence of 5 emails, maybe once per quarter, are just firing off at a regular basis, just to make sure that you're top of mind.
And that is so good to say that, because when you're dealing with email autoresponders, because you can have them trigger at different events. You can have them trigger on their anniversary or on their birthdays or on their that President's Day or Christmas or something like that. You can have them trigger on special events as well, which will keep them like, oh, he was thinking about me, oh, she was thinking about me. So as you say, being top of mind. And the second thing I'm going to say, and this is my realtor talk. So I'm going to put on my realtor hat, even though I haven't worn a realtor hat in a few years, is that whenever you're building your business, is that you do need to specialize. Be the go-to person in that one industry. Because I mean, I'm part of the because I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I have joined the board of realtors here. I'm in what they call an affiliate. So I do talk to realtors all the time. And one of the things I'll ask a realtor, especially a new realtor, I go, so could you tell me a little bit about what kind of house, what kind of real estate do you do? And that realtor, the one that says, well, I help people buy and sell houses, I go, yeah, there's 10,000 agents that do that. What do you do? What makes you stand out?
Right.
And for me, when I was in Vegas before I got my realtor's license, I did lease option real estate. My specialty was creative financing. People getting into houses in a creative way. There was another guy that I knew in Vegas. He was known as the king of condos. Do you think he ever sold a house? That was not in his wheelhouse. He was the condo guy. So he knew about all the HOAs, he knew all the high-rise condos, he knew all of that stuff. So if you were, let's say, if Pete was the one to think about going to buy a house or a condo in Las Vegas, he knows me, I'm a general real estate agent, and we've got the king of condo, and he wants to buy a high-rise condo. Who do you think he's going to go to? He's going to go to the expert.
Right.
So for those of you guys out there, being that expert, going the extra mile, having the technologies like Segwik here that can help you make your job a lot easier. And I would not say it's going to make it more transparent, but it makes your life a lot easier, and you look like more of a seasoned professional. So if somebody was using his system, came out to somebody's house, let's say for a 2 o'clock appointment, and there's going to be another contractor coming out at 3 or 3:30, and the one at 2 o'clock says, "Hey, this is what I have. This is the offer I got," and whatever, and they may or may not sign the contract. But when the 3:31 shows up, like, well, I'll get it to you tomorrow. Now we're going to go back to Pete.
Right.
He was the guy. He might be a little bit more expensive, but he had his S together, and was able to show that he's a much more prepared professional.
There you go. Yeah, you nailed it.
So that's me tooting your horn. So Pete, tell us about maybe some of the challenges and stuff that you've gone through, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, so we're always overcoming challenges, right? One of the ideas that keeps me moving is that oftentimes when you're in business, it's really good to. I feel that I was quite fortunate to position myself in a physical space early on in my entrepreneurial journey, a co-working space, and for one reason or another, luck would have it that in my space, there was a handful of entrepreneurs that were very seasoned and experienced and I was able to pick their brains, and they were very open with their information. And so being that I wasn't from a family of business owners, so I've had to learn a lot of things myself and teach myself, and I've had to be willing to be trained, and I've had to be willing to be the butt of jokes to some people who would find my not challenges humorous, but be humble, and so people that you trust to give you good advice, they'll like give you a good ribbing once in a while, and so you have to take that, and that's fine because you don't know everything, and sometimes what you need is for somebody to not be so nice in their critiques of how you're operating. But I've also been fortunate to have a mom who shared with me when I was down and feeling low about myself, that the world owes you nothing, and that basically anything that you need, you're going to have to figure out really on your own. And so that's a good thing to always remember, is that you have to make things really happen for yourself. And so I live by that every day. I try to, and it doesn't mean that I don't get down, but it also, what it does mean for me is that if I am down, then the only person that's going to be able to fix it is myself. And
Right.
that's kept me from falling into depression and other things when business is hard, and if you're going through a slower period, or if you're in the beginning and it's just not moving as quickly as possible, you start to second guess yourself, and you start to listen to other people's well-intentioned bad advice, is what I call it.
Mm,
So those people
I
that
like
love
that.
you, they give you their 2 cents, right? And sometimes those that love you, that your friends, your family, you don't always invite that advice. So I call that well-intentioned but bad advice, because to me, just quitting is bad advice, and keeping, you're never out until you quit, is my opinion. And but specifically, we have the same challenges that every small business has. You have cash flow problems, you have client satisfaction problems, that you want to keep every client happy, and despite your best efforts, they're not always going to be happy all the time. And so
Mm.
uh, we're the same, just like anybody else. We Just because we're a business automation system doesn't mean we don't put our pants on 2 legs at a time, one leg at a time. I messed that one up. But
What?
yeah, so cash flow problems. You can't, but at the same time, it's been good that we haven't had windfalls. Some companies, they have the right connections, and or in certain cases it's a good connection, but it's not the right connection, because then they get some kind of windfall, and then they blow through a bunch of money, and they don't really solve any problems in a clever way. And so we've been forced to consistently check on ourselves and say, are we developing the right product, and are we using our time wisely, because we had basically every penny and every hour was very critical to us.
Well, another thing is, I mean, no matter what you're doing, whatever kind of business you're going to be trying to grow, there's going to be times that you just don't know the answer, and then after you learn the answer, like that was so obvious. And I mean, I was just talking about this before. I had a podcast before. It was called Life's Little Lessons back in 2016, and that was to promote my second book, and I was very inconsistent. And then later on, like in 2017. I thought about it. I really like that name, and I want to get this podcast out there again. But how can I make sure, and how can I maintain that consistency? And then I thought about, well, I would just do interviews. I don't have to worry about consistency anymore, because the guest is the one bringing the content. And then I said, how am I going to do this? Like, I've got these 20 some odd shows that I was very inconsistent, and now I've got these coming in. Like, what is the viewership, or the listenership, and what are they going to say? Then I had another one, an amazing idea. I go, season two,
Right.
the interview based show. So the thing is, when you're building your business, you definitely want to, like he was talking about, taking the ribbing by going to a co-working space. Just be aware that you don't know everything, and even if it's something that is common sense, those other people can bring you that advice that can definitely help you with your business. I know for me, when I just that one podcast, like I had two epiphanies while on a hike, like, and then I think back, like that was so obvious. Every TV show does it. Like,
So it's important that you have people in your life that you can
I
call,
mean,
and you're behind them in your entrepreneurial journey, and they're able to drag you forward. And then it's important that there's people side by side with you at the same stage of your development. And then what that means is that you owe it to another person to be that good beacon of light for people that are behind you in that entrepreneurial journey. And then you touched upon, like you had that epiphany about, how do I frame this new set of content that you were developing? And what I would call that is always try to fit the square peg in the round hole. The people say, well, why are you trying to fit a square peg in a round hole? It's a square peg. It doesn't go in a round hole. But you learn so much, and so much becomes revealed in business.
Yeah.
And so what I mean by that is take the lessons from one thing and apply them to something completely different. So in the development of our software, we've had to, in order to develop software well, how do you develop a software that's supposed to serve a real estate agent as well as a doctor, for example? Okay, well, what are the similarities? What are the differences? And so you take that one square peg. How does that fit into this round hole? Like, what are the similarities? What are the differences? What can I take away from this? What can I take away from that? But also the creative process is always just about um, not every idea is precious. People think that the ideas that they come up with are sacrosanct and above reproach, and the creative process dictates that ideas are a dime a dozen, and that any idea should be subjected to intense scrutiny and reanalyzed and thought about from any kind of dimension. I think back to when my brother was playing Dungeons and Dragons as a kid, and he showed up with a 100-sided dice. Imagine a 100-sided die. I mean, we're used to a 6-sided die. Maybe you've seen an 8-sided die, or even in some of these games, you have a 16-sided die. But imagine a 100-sided die, and that die is your business. And so, if you're holding that 100-sided die, you could look at it from any angle, right? There's any angle. You could look at the front, you could look at the back, you could look at the top, you could look at the bottom, and that's your business. Your business isn't even a cube. It's not even, it doesn't even have 6 or 8 sides. There's hundreds of sides to your business. And so at any moment, anything about your business, whether you're thinking about what to put into an autoresponder email in terms of the subject line, or what you're thinking might be a marketing message that you're putting onto LinkedIn, or what might be a sub headline on a landing page, all of those ideas can be interchangeable or scrutinized by looking at them from any one of these hundreds of different angles.
Right, and I see that. Funny enough, I used to play Dungeons and Dragons with my brother and neighbor when I was a kid. So I don't think we had a 16-sided die. We had a 20-sided die. But but the thing is, I definitely see where you're coming from. And the thing is, you have to be open. Yeah, like, kind of like what you're saying. You have to kind of be open to new things, or as things change. You can't just take everything as woe's me, and yeah, or anything along those lines. So tell me about some of your successes, or your more recent successes that you would like to share.
Yeah, so we've everyday living is another success, can't we say? But getting a little bit more granular than that, we've taken on a nonprofit where this is an $8 million a year nonprofit, and they sell courses for lawyers. They sell continuing education courses. If you're in the you're as a real estate agent, you have to take continuing ed. As a doctor, as any licensed professional, you have to take a certain amount of credits every year, and that's what this organization sells. That's their primary product. And so taking them on was an intense challenge. This was a organization that was founded in 1994, and that sounds like forever ago. I mean, there wasn't the internet at the time. People barely used spreadsheets, but commerce took place. And through, what is that? That's 94, 2004, 2000. What is that? Is that 40 years? That's 30,
30 or
30.
30 or more years ago.
Yeah, so that's 30 years. Think about the amount of digital systems that they've gone through, and think about the integrity of data for their alumni and their students that have gone through their courses. The integrity just becomes difficult to manage over time. And so we were their most recent digital transformation company. We took them off of one of our large name brand competitors. We cleaned up all of their data. We made it usable. We made it searchable. We made it actionable on a day-to-day basis, and
Hmm.
restored them to a point of pride where anybody, whether you were a student in 1999 or just a new student, can gain access to their portals, can see your entire history with this organization. And that took a number of months to wipe through and clean up content from Excel spreadsheets,
Hmm.
from WordPress websites, from Salesforce exports, and just other diligent people in their organization that were just keeping raw Excel records just over the years. And we merged all of that into something that was usable.
Well, because when you talk about that reminds me, I started college in 1990, and I was still using a typewriter, to write papers and such. And then was it Lotus Notes or something like that came around? This before Microsoft came out. So yeah, I can imagine if they're going back to the 90s, then they've got stuff on probably on software platforms that no longer exist.
Correct. Yes, and we had some of that.
Wow. Well, congratulations with that nonprofit. Now, if somebody is wanting to get a quote or how to find out more about how to work with you, how would they do that?
Just visit segwik.com, segwik.com, and you can book time on our calendar. And one of our trusted executives would be happy to hear out your challenges and figure out if working with us would be as good for you as it has been for some of our other clients.
And I'm going to say something also here. I was thinking about this a little bit ago, is that whatever it is that you're doing for your business, and if you find other people that are doing something similar, I would say get on their mailing list. Join their club or whatever, and see what they're doing that is good, and see what they're doing that is bad. Because if you're doing a lot of the same things, like say for an example, we talk about autoresponders for this podcast. I've been on several podcasts where after I've been scheduled, they don't send me an update, like, and I'm for 10 minutes struggling, like, where's that email? Where's that email? And I can't, and I've missed a few shows because I could not find the proper email. So
Right.
you definitely want to see where you would be disappointed if you were the customer, and then put yourself into the shoes if they were a part of your system, and see where can you improve. I would assume people would agree with that.
100%. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I do want to say thank you for being with us today, Pete. Is there anything that you would like to share with the audience before we leave?
No, just don't give up and keep going, and keep thinking about how to make your day-to-day processes more frictionless. Just every time you go to do a task, how can you not have to do that task? What can you do in your day-to-day to try to eliminate and offload that task to some kind of automation, and just be conscious of that every single day.
And I'm going to second on that. If you're doing the same thing over and over again, then it's time to automate it. You have to find a way to automate it.
Exactly.
I mean, 'cause I create courses myself, and what I tell business owners, like, if you're taking somebody through the same system over and over and over again, either automate it or build a course around it. So that way you can save yourself time.
You,
So
that's the name of the game.
okay, that's the name of the game. Well, if you are listening to this show and you think somebody that would be a good guest, please just have them actually go to our website at www.businessamplified.net /pre-interview. And that's with no dash for pre-interview. That would be for a 15-minute segment. So we can talk and discuss if this is going to be a show that would be good for you to be a guest on. If you want to find more about Pete, you go to Segwik, segwik.com. That's www.segwik.com. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I've written a C down, so there is no C in there, it's just WIK. So, and Pete, I do want to say thank you for being here today. And I wouldn't say any last word, but anything else you want to say before we go?
No, I think that we covered a lot, and if people's heads are spinning, call us up to let us know how we can help straighten that out.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us. Make sure you like and subscribe to our show. Share the show with other people. And until next time, guys, be amazing.
Thanks for tuning in to another empowering episode of Business Amplified with Kevin A. Dunlap.
If you found value in today's insights, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share the podcast.
Keep amplifying your business. And remember, your success journey is our inspiration.
Until next time on Business Amplified, go out there and make your business thrive.